Okay, so we're going to have a little meditation before the channel. So I invite you to just begin to get quiet inside. Close your eyes and take a breath. You've taken in a lot of information in the first few hours here, first couple of hours. So just let that breath come deeply into your body, into your being. And with each breath, just settle a little more in your chair, in your consciousness, in your breathing. And allow that place of receptivity to open up inside of you. Perhaps that's in a very clear way in one place in your body or another. Perhaps it's in several. Your mind, your heart, your higher consciousness. And as you open that portal to receiving, you might notice that there is love here. You might notice that this is family. You may not know everyone in the room, but the entourage of Kryon knows you. And the love that comes from the family on the other side of the veil is here, loving you with each breath.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner steps aside, as he always does, and lets an energy come in that he is now very used to. Uncertain of what that energy will say, but certain that it's pure, accurate, true, loving, compassionate, benevolent, and part of a greater system that is partially hidden to the human beings who listen. And the partially hidden part in the past has always been the fear part. Anything that hides must be bad, according to old human nature. Why hide it if it wasn't trouble, they say. And the human beings who feel that way have missed it completely. Why do you wrap presents, put them under the tree in this culture for your children? Are they going to open it and find a snake? You have something for them that is beyond what they know, and at the right time it is presented. And until then it hides. And this is very similar, dear ones. And in the old energy, the hidden things were because you hadn't got to a place where you even knew they were available. And now in this energy, they're yours. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more tonight. But in this system, if you want to call it, there is a grandness of discovery that for some of you is not so grand, because you really haven't let yourself see it. You've covered yourself with a cloak that is humanism. The one you were born with, the one your parents told you was there, the ones that the circumstances in your life have created that you accepted, the ones that you talk about. Not understanding that it is a shell that you can break through anytime you want, and start to understand the potentials of what really is there. As you walk through life, all manner of things are brought to you that become challenges because they are not the things you expected, or they interrupt the flow, or they create sorrow. There are frustrations for all those who are humans, and that is because you live together with free choice. Anyone can go whatever direction that they wish. And if they don't even know that, they will go a direction that their body will go. And in that, of course, there will be confusion, unexpected things that take place, sorrowful things, joyful things, benevolent things. It's a mixture, isn't it? As my partner says, some believe they walk around rolling the dice. What will it be today? How will it be tomorrow? And that is like saying, I'm not in control at all. And the dice I have in my hand that I'm about to roll creates chance. And that's what I'm going to get because I'm not in control. Others will say, I admit I'm not in control, but therefore I can call on the divine and it's in control. So I'll get help from the outside. The thought of that works for many, but it's still not accurate, not fully accurate at all. The truth is this: inside you is the ability to break the wall completely and see, perhaps for the first time, a new system. And it is new. Since 2012, it is more available than ever before. The last channeling we gave before this one, very last one, was about your DNA and what has taken place with it. It talks about something that we rarely speak of. The fact that the human being is starting to develop a consciousness through its DNA that is multidimensional. You have been linear in your thinking, in your expectations, in all the things that you have, even spiritually. You have been so linear for generations and generations, thousands of years. And suddenly, there is a shift. And the shift isn't just in the energy of this planet or the magnetics or in the consciousness. The shift, truly, is that humanity itself is starting to gather an energy it never even knew it had. The way you think is becoming different. What would it be for a human being to have multidimensional consciousness? And the answer is multi-layered, for it starts in one area, it goes to another, and graduates to another. When you start becoming a multidimensional thinker, you think out of all of the paradigms that you were ever given. Tonight I'm going to tell you about a library. It's a metaphor for something else. This is going to show you the power truly that is inside each one of you. What if you're not what you thought? If you could throw away all the paradigms that you were given, what would they be? How about the paradigms of aging? What about the paradigms of health? What about the paradigms of what the doctors tell you? What about the paradigms of the scientists who tell you how things happened on the planet? What about what you learned in the textbooks in school of who you are and how you got here? What if I told you that every single thing I just spoke of, you learned incorrectly? And you learned them incorrectly because it's the best you had. It's where human nature and the mind, even of a brilliant scientist, will go. In an old energy that has nothing more than linear thought, linear evidence. And suddenly you don't. You're going to have something open up that even goes beyond time itself. If that's true, Kryon, what is the first thing that we could then do? Show us the staircase we need, one at a time. Dear ones, if you become multidimensional, there can be no more stairs. For becoming multidimensional, even a little, is something that requires you to see the stairs as one object, and you go in both directions, sometimes even sideways, in order to think out of this box of linearity. But I'll tell you the one thing that would help the most is to rewind for a moment, as much as you can, to the happiest time in your life. Some of you were children for that time, others were not. And no matter what has happened in the interim, that you would capture that for a moment and put it right back where it belongs on you today. And you would say, I can't do that. Too much has happened. There's too much water under the bridge, Kryon. And I would say to you, oh, dear ones, how linear you are with your water. Under the bridge, going from one area to another. Aging. Climbing that ladder of disappointment and frustration and sorrow that so many of you just have so much of. And we'd say instead, there is something special for the rest of your life, if you want it. And that specialness has to come from you peeling that onion of awareness. The onion is old. Been in the refrigerator too long. And you're going to start peeling it. And in that you will then see that there is more. And in the process there will be some tears while you peel the onion. But I'll tell you what happens as you peel it. You start revealing truth. And the truth you see is not what you tried before that didn't work. The truth is not what you expect. And the first thing you'll start to feel is peacefulness. You might wake up in the morning and say, something has happened, I feel too good today. With all the things around me that have happened, or all that's going to happen, or what I have to do, or what I think might happen, I feel pretty good. And you'll start understanding and realizing what's real and what is not in your life. I was asked a question just a couple of days ago in Channel. What are people going to do with the circumstances of their life? How are you going to feel good when you have all these things, these circumstances? And my answer was, the circumstances are what the humans have created. Get rid of the circumstances. That's what you did. What's your reaction to it? How are you feeling? Are you depressed? Do you fear it? Do you think it's coming back? What's the frustration? And all of those words I just gave you are humans reacting to what is around them. So circumstances are what humans create. There's not the reality that is around you. What if you took what is around you and reshaped it and reframed it? I know this is not something I want. This is frustrating. I have a team with me that is divine because I have a soul and a multidimensional self which is beyond any of this. I will not be frustrated and add to this, which will then eventually age me. I will not accept anger in this because all things happen for reasons that I don't know. I will hook to that which is divine and be thankful for every day. My chemistry will change because of it, and I will last a lot longer than my doctor said I would last. My chemistry will chase away the diseases that want to attach to me because I worry, because I'm afraid, because I don't have that which is the child anymore. That takes courage. It takes courage to say it, to believe it. And there will be those who leave the room and say, well, that's Pollyanna thinking. If you think something, Kryon says, well, you're going to get it. Why don't you give it a shot and find out if what you expect and what you think and what you cognize and believe might actually change the circumstances around you. Dear ones, you're entering a phase of humanity that is new and different, and some are starting to feel. They're waking up and saying, something has changed. I feel too good. I'm having a good day, and I didn't think I would. Perhaps I should change my expectations. It seems that if I expect a good day, I'm getting a lot more of them. It seems that I'm not fearing as much. I'm not disappointed as much. I'm not frustrated as much. Some of the same things are happening with every day. And the same people are in my life doing the same things. And somehow it's bouncing off me. And somehow I know that I am beyond all of it. And my reactions have become more benevolent and understanding and compassionate. That, my dear human being, is becoming multidimensional. For in that multidimensionality is a buzzword you're going to hear more about than ever before. The confluence of compassion. More than coincidence. You have coherence. Coherence of thought that matches the Creator. As you become multidimensional, you start to bring on the aspects of the divine within you. The coherence is with the other side of the veil, finally, without ever having to go to a reader, a minister, a priest, anyone that is outside of yourself. And instead, you feel it, and the connection is there, and you don't want to let go of it. And it's not going away by itself as long as you keep peeling the onion and expecting the benevolence of God inside you. This is the truth. And the masters all over the planet have given you the same information. But now, you're the master. You're the one who can sit at your own feet. You're your own ancestor. You're awakening on your own. This is the challenge for those coming from the old to the new. Let it be so this day, that there are changes within, seeds being planted of potentials for a longer and grander life than you ever expected you'd have, no matter how old you are. I'll be back. And so it is.
Allow the energy and the information of today to just softly sink in, and know that it will unfold like a beautiful soft spiral as your day, your evening, your weekend progresses. And right now, right here, you can feel the love that Spirit has for you, because you are here today. You took this time from your life to be in this room with the entourage of Kryon, with the family that's here, and with the love that is here. Each one of you knows love in a different way. And when you bring that here to this room, to this gathering, all of the aspects of love are present for you, for each one of us. Take another breath. And know that in that beautiful soup of love, everything about love is here for you. Everything you are, everything you bring, and everything love can give you. And if you'd like, just bring your hand to your heart center and touch your heart and say a nice, soft, internal thank you. Thank you to this beautiful friend in your chest that goes everywhere with you and reminds you of the blessing of love, of human love, of the beauty of what you deserve as an honored and loved human.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There are so many messages that we have given over the years. And each time it begins, and each time my partner sits in the chair, he's unaware of what's coming. But he's often presented with emotions. And the emotions come from that which is the other side of the veil and often corresponds with the kind of message that is going to be given. And if it's going to be scientific, there will be a certain kind of emotion. If it's going to be informational, a certain kind of emotion. But when it's going to be about the love from the other side of the veil to you, he knows it. And that's what this is. We go from channelings which are filled with revelation, history, beauty, to ones that are simply loving, with no agenda of teaching. This is an exposition of who you are. And to do this correctly, I want to tell you this. Again and again, I've said this. You need to hear it now, again. Those of you in the chairs need to hear it. I know who's here. Spirit knows who's here. The creative source who made you knows who's here. You do not live in some kind of vacuum. And yet it feels that way, does it not? It feels like you are surrounded by yourself and that's it. And we've said it over and over. This is the situation that you create as a human being, the circumstances of being linear, that it's just you, one body. And as you walk around, it's just you. But that is not the case at all. The soul that you have, that you call many things, the higher self, that which is grander, the innate, goes way beyond that which walks around in biology. There's pieces and parts of you that are connected to every single other human on earth. There are pieces and parts of you that are connected to the other side of the veil. You belong to what is called the soup of God, a group, not just of entities, a group that is the fiber of all things. The piece of God that is in you, the section of God that is in you, is connected to all things. And that hides so completely from you. It hides so much that those of you in sorrow and depression, frustration, who go into the corner by yourself, never understanding that there are so many with you, never understanding the connection you have to the other side of the veil. It's always there. The energy of consciousness on this planet literally has dictated the closet you're in. The teaching that you've had even since birth has dictated who you think you are. And who you are is so much bigger. That's been our message for so many years. And getting you to realize it is what the channelings are all about. And so we do it yet again, in a different way. But all of the things that we do are slowly graduating into clearer and clearer metaphors. I'm going to give you another one tonight. So profound this could be for you, if you let it. If you let it. It's more than a story. Much more. And every single piece of it means something else. And that is the way teaching works. You peel the onion of revelation of what is being said in my partner's language into something that becomes what is felt and actionable with you. Actionable is a term we use which means applying to the reality of your life. Something that is actionable for you is more than you listening. It is you becoming. As I tell this story about a human who has a vision. Visions are interesting. And you would define vision differently from person to person. But let's define it for this story. The human being who steps out of three-dimensional reality for just a few moments and sees things not in his or her world. A vision, a presentation of a grand truth with things that hide, things that are revealed, and things that you can revisit later in your memory. Some of the prophets who walked this planet that were the most profound had visions. even before they began, of who they would be, what would happen to them. This is a vision of one human, a human who has no name, a human who stands in front of a door in this vision. And it's an enormous door. And on the title, on the door, the title of the door, on a sign, it says, "The Library of Self." A funny term, to have a library of self. But the human who opens this door knows that inside there will be a great deal to learn. A library would indicate volume after volume of information. Of self would indicate to the individual that it might be personal, if the self was of the human who opens the door. The human doesn't open the door. The human calls for a guide to open the door. Now, this is because in this vision, it is necessary to have an outside source reveal for the vision. And so in comes a nameless guide with an enormous key ring. This particular guide will then accompany the human in this library, because what the human is about to see will require more doors, more unlocking, more revelations, more metaphors, and a little mystery. The guide opens the door. Now, here is a metaphor where the guide is not talking to the human yet. It's understood that the guide shows up with the key because the human wants to get in. The door is unlocked. And as it's opened, it's obvious it has not been opened for a very long time. For the door's hinges squeak with age. A dim light is there, but the light starts to increase as the human goes in. Without an apparent switch or torches or anything you might expect to create the light, the human arrives and the light is turned on. And immediately the human does not see a library with shelves or books, but a hallway with more doors. And the doors have names on them of things you would expect in a library, subjects to be discovered, to be examined. There is no necessarily order in this hallway. The human can start anywhere. But the human in question with this vision sees the labels. And the first one is how things work. That is really interesting. You might have even labeled it physics or science or chemistry. It's how things work. You see some of the other labels on the other doors. There's one called history, one called past. There's one called relationships. There's subjects. And in every library, he doesn't know what to expect. Behind each door, could it be a giant room filled with books, information? The library of self. He motivates immediately toward how things work, looks at the guide gets out the key. They didn't exchange any words, and there was no permission. May I go in? There was none of that. There was, guide, would you please open the door? There was none of that. He simply looked at the door, and the guide arrives with the key. The door is open, and a vast room is revealed. How it works, literally, is all of the processes of the universe, all of the physics, all of the chemistry, even the multidimensionality of entanglement and beyond, consciousness that becomes physics, graduate planets, how it works. Thousands of books, balconies of books, ladders that would reach seemingly to the sky with a light. And he realizes, I'll never get through this. I'll never get through this. The reaction is interesting to the human who looks at it and says, it's overwhelming, I don't think I'll begin. And yet the things that are closest to him on the ground floor seem to be germane, or that is to say, relevant to his life. How things work for him, for her, in this human. And the human begins to read certain things and finds, oh my goodness, I never knew this. That explains this. Wow, think of the things in this room. If I could only stay here. In the vision, there is an assumption of a time that is going to end. In other words, the clock is ticking for the vision, and he can't stay very long. And so the human knows that there is no time to study everything, but the vision says it's all there. The human wants to go to some of the other rooms. If there's time, I'll come back. This one is absolutely fascinating. It's all about how things work, and some of these things explain what has happened to me. How things work is not just physics and chemistry. Wow, it's intertwined with my life on how things have happened physically for me in this lifetime, what it is. Can you imagine such a library that touches on the core of what you've been through from your birth to now? You're overwhelmed with the fact that all was known and is in a book. He leaves the library, closes the door, and it's locked. Now, there is a symbolism here that says that the human is only allowed to look at one library at a time. That symbolism is that the human is linear. Still linear. In this vision, still linear. But as the human begins to open the doors, he realizes that even that is starting to change. Could it be that the human is changing even as the library is examined? That's something to think about. He peeks at another door which says history. He's not really into a lot of history, but he knows that beyond that door there are things that no one knows. Some things that have been mysteries forever. He looks at the label on the door, and the guide opens the door. Again, he enters. A light starts to come with him as he steps around, and he starts to see another library, segmented into areas, civilizations that he's never heard of. The ones he has heard of is one section, the ones he's never heard of in other sections. And there are section after section after section, civilization after civilization, names he doesn't know, writing he doesn't recognize. Phenomenal. The ones he does recognize, he sees. He recognizes the words of the civilizations that he knows about. And he starts to read. And he says, I never learned that in school. I didn't know that. Look at this. They were here before these and those, and wow. This is an amazing thing. Things that go beyond anything that I've ever learned in school are right here. Right here. Again, he's cognizant of the clock. He realizes there are so many rooms, there are huge libraries to see. Oh, there are so many volumes, thousands, tens of thousands, describing civilization, history, how things work, how he's related to all of it. He exits this library and goes back into the hall and sees the next room is called the past. Oh, what's the difference between history and the past? He's about to find out. He looks at the label on the door and it opens. The guide is there with the key. Different keys, different doors. The light follows him in because of his presence as a human. And then he sees it, not books, but crystals. And each crystal has its own story. And he realizes, just from the training that he has had as an old soul, he has entered the library of the cave of creation. And in this is not history, unless you call his, her history. It's the history of the human. Each crystal represents a lifetime on the planet. Like some other metaphors we've given, other caves, he touches the crystal and immediately is given the story of himself in another time. She has another name, this human. He has another name, this human. There is another gender. One time a man, one time a woman. They're not lined up in any order. They're all the same size, and there are thousands. Overwhelmed he is, she is, with the profundity of what is there. It occurs to this human that they have been here forever, as long as Earth has allowed humans to be here. There's a crystal for every lifetime. We once gave you a metaphor, a puzzle, and it involved Jason and the cave. And in that, the human called Jason was so enamored with touching the crystals that he never got out. He spent his life touching crystals to find out who he used to be. That's how attractive this is. But she didn't spend that long because there were more. There were more things to show and tell. I'll come back here if I can. It's fascinating. Just a few crystals that were touched brought him, her, into a lifetime with all the facts and the people, the relationships were there. It's almost like human was living it again. You've gone from books to crystals. You've gone from how it works on paper to touching a crystal and having other visions within a vision. The further you go, the more doors that are open, the more you become multidimensional outside of linearity. Out in the hallway, more doors, more labels. There was one that was attractive, and yet it wasn't. I'll just go there right now. A label on the door. Death. Do I go there or not? What does it mean? Is this vision someplace where I'm going to die? Behind the door, is there an indication of how long I last? Doesn't have a very good name to a human being, does it? Death. He, she looks at the door. Nothing happens. Where's the guide with the key? I'm brave. I'll see what it does. I'll see what happens here. Where's the door? Key. Where's the guide? And then the human looks at the door closely and sees there is no doorknob. I want you to get this clear. The room is fake. You can't open it. It doesn't exist. The metaphor of the library and the room and the door, there is no death. Profound it is for you to see this, for the human to realize this in the vision. Death would mean that the soul does not exist, and it always does and always has and will forever. In the vision of metaphysical things and the truth, there is no death. There is no way to open the door. There's no way to unlock the door. It's something that doesn't exist. And if you could open it, it would be a brick wall. Are you getting this? More doors, more labels, more things to see. There's one called relationships. What could be in there? You already had the crystals to talk about what you've lived and what you've expressed, and you've had indication of how things went for you. You've had your past lives, all of these things. Science, history. It had to encompass relationships. So what could be behind this door? It gets better as it goes, doesn't it? Looks at the door, and out comes the guide. And this time the guide speaks. And the guide says, be ready for this. And unlocks the door. The human walks in, and the light goes with him, her. And inside, there's a party going on. And it's a party with everyone that human has ever been involved in all the lifetimes on the planet. The ones they've loved and lost, the ones they still know, it's almost like every soul was there. And they look young and they look beautiful, just like they met them the first time. If it's a mother or a father, from any lifetime, it's when they were young and beautiful with you as a child. If it's a spouse, it's when you married them. if it's a sister or a brother, is when you knew them as a child, and they're all there together, and the music is beautiful. And it's so emotional, because it's real. You see, there was no death. Are you getting this? There was no death. The room of relationships is a promise to you, dear human being, a promise, a reality that you should know is in your library. There's a party outside. One more door. It's an interesting door because this door becomes multidimensional and not necessarily understandable. And it's called future. The guide opens the door, the human goes in. The light is enormous, bigger than it ever has been when generated by the human in any other library. It's the biggest room of all. Enormous. But what makes it strange is it's totally and completely empty. Do you get the idea? It's empty because it hasn't been created. There are those in this room and listening to this channel that believe the future, even of this life they have now, is going to be filled with the same kinds of problems and strife that they've had all their life. It's not an empty room. It doesn't have them creating anything. They don't have the ability to understand that tomorrow is a blank page, and that you do not have to carry the burdens of yesterday into tomorrow. Or what you have today that makes you fearful, you can drop on the floor right now and walk into a light that is your creation for tomorrow, a new human that you are. The doors are shut. The light goes dim. The vision is over. Those of you who wish to analyze this will find stories within stories. Everything means something else. But let me tell you something that you probably have already gathered. The multidimensional human being that you are, in your own DNA, has this library existing. It is in you today. It is yours, and you don't need a vision to access it. This is the promise of the shift. The ones who seeded you finally were able to walk into this library themselves of their own, to see who they were, what they could do, how everything works, the physics of consciousness, the benevolence of belief, the beauty of compassion, as they walked through a society that eventually had no more war, a society that could see the God within and the God without until it finally merged. This is possible with this planet and this civilization because of the shift that has just occurred a few years ago. You are on the infancy, in the infancy, of something enormously grand that will develop over lifetime after lifetime. That is what has happened on this planet. This library inside you exists. Some of you, if you wish, may open any door. You don't need a guide. Dear ones, the guide was necessary in the old energy. The keys are yours. If you want to know really what happened, as you enter what we call the 11th civilization on this planet, you want to know really what happened in that shift in 2012? The whole setup of the nodes and the nulls, the magnetics, all of that gave you the keys to the library. It's here. It's inside you. It's magnificent, and it's discoverable in all of its pieces and parts. Which one are you going to go to first? Which one? You're all very different. You all have the issues that a human who is unique has. And each of you will decide, based upon this short little channel, which library room do you want to enter first? What do you need? And I will tell you, you've got a ring of keys for all the doors, except one. There is no death. The human body deteriorates and goes away. So does everything else. But you, the essence of you, is forever. You will have that room with you every single time you come here. It travels with you. The knowledge of everything is inside. Think about these words. Think about the vision. The library of self is in you now. It's not somewhere else. And you have the keys. I am Kryon in love with humanity. And so it is.